The explosion of glass shattering against marble echoed through the $30 million penthouse like a gunshot. Alexander Reed, tech billionaire and one of New York's most eligible bachelors before marrying Victoria 6 years ago, stood frozen in the doorway of his bedroom suite. The crystal tumbler he'd been holding lay in pieces at his feet, expensive bourbon forming a puddle around his handmade Italian shoes. "Alex!" Victoria gasped, her perfectly manicured hands clutching silk sheets to her chest. Beside her, Charles Huntington, Alex's business partner and supposed best friend, scrambled to find his discarded clothes. "I changed my Tokyo meeting," Alex said, his voice unnervingly calm. "Thought I'd surprise you." The irony wasn't lost on him. For a man who had built his fortune predicting market trends, he had somehow missed the signs of betrayal right under his nose. Charles, now partially dressed, attempted to speak. "Alex, this isn't... If you say this isn't what it looks like, I might actually throw you through that window," Alex said, gesturing to the floor-to-ceiling glass, showcasing Manhattan's skyline. 73 floors is a long way down. Victoria was crying now, those tears that had always melted his resolve in their past arguments. But all Alex felt was numbness spreading through his chest like frost. "Just go," he said to Charles. "Our lawyers can discuss the dissolution of our partnership tomorrow." As Charles slipped past him, Alex didn't even spare him a glance. 6 years of friendship, 12 years of business partnership, gone in the time it took to open a bedroom door. "Alex, please," Victoria pleaded. "It was a mistake. We can work through this." He looked at her, really looked, for the first time in months. When had they become strangers? When had he stopped seeing her beyond their scheduled appearances and coordinated social calendar? "I'll be staying at the Hamptons' house," he said, turning to leave. "My assistant will contact your lawyer tomorrow." As the elevator descended from the penthouse, Alex leaned against the mirrored wall, watching the floor numbers decrease. His life was imploding, yet all he could think about was that he was going to be late picking up his daughter from her piano lesson. 5-year-old Emma was the light of his life, the one relationship he hadn't managed to neglect despite his punishing work schedule. Since her birth, he'd made a point of handling at least one parenting duty personally each day, no matter how busy he was. Today was piano lesson pickup, and he'd be damned if Victoria's infidelity would make him break a promise to his daughter. When the private elevator reached the garage, Alex bypassed his driver and took the keys to his rarely used Aston Martin. Some things a man needed to do himself, like picking up his daughter after discovering his marriage was a lie. 20 minutes and several traffic laws later, Alex pulled up outside the elite music academy where Emma took lessons. His thoughts were a hurricane, but he forced himself to take 3 deep breaths before getting out of the car. Emma didn't deserve to see her father unraveled. As he approached the building, he spotted Emma sitting on a bench beside a young woman he didn't recognize. Not Emma's usual nanny. The woman was reading a book while Emma played with a small toy, both of them seemingly content in the September sunshine. "Daddy!" Emma squealed when she spotted him, launching herself off the bench and into his arms. Alex caught her, the familiar weight of his daughter anchoring him in the chaos that had become his life. "Hey, pumpkin," he said, managing a genuine smile for the first time that day. "How was piano?" "Miss Harper said I'm a natural," Emma declared proudly. The young woman approached them, closing her well-worn paperback. She wasn't what Alex had expected for a nanny from the premium agency Victoria used. Instead of the usual polished professional childcare worker, this woman wore jeans and a simple sweater, her curly hair caught in a messy bun, and not a trace of makeup on her face. "Mr. Reed," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Sophia Parker. Mrs. Calloway is ill, so the agency sent me as a replacement. I hope that's all right." Her handshake was firm, her eyes direct and warm. Something about her unassuming presence was oddly comforting on this worst of days. "Of course," he said, realizing he'd held her hand a moment too long. "Thank you for waiting with her." "No problem." Sophia smiled, turning to Emma. Remember, to practice that C major scale before next week, okay? As they walked to the car, Emma's hand in his, Alex felt a strange sense of dislocation. This morning, he'd been a happily married CEO with a perfect life. Now he was... what exactly? He glanced back once to see Sophia Parker waiting for her. Ride, that well-worn book open again in her hands. In a day of shattering revelations, the simple sight of someone completely at ease with themselves felt like finding an unexpected oasis in a desert. Absolutely not, Alex said firmly into his phone as he paced the length of his Hamptons beach house veranda. I don't care what Victoria wants. Emma stays with me. His lawyer sighed audibly. Alex, courts typically favor mothers in custody battles. We need to be strategic here. Alex watched the waves crash against the shore, trying to steady his racing thoughts. 3 weeks had passed since the discovery, as he'd begun calling it in his mind. 3 weeks of lawyers, accusations, and Victoria's increasingly desperate attempts to reconcile. Attempts he suspected had more to do with her lifestyle than any genuine affection. Find a way, Alex said before ending the call. The divorce was getting ugly, but he would move mountains to ensure Emma's stability. As if summoned by his thoughts, Emma's delighted laughter floated from the beach below. She was building an elaborate sandcastle with Sophia, who had, through a series of unforeseen circumstances, become Emma's temporary nanny. The day after the discovery, Mrs. Calloway had officially resigned, citing health concerns. When the agency sent Sophia as a temporary replacement, Emma had been so enchanted that Alex extended the arrangement indefinitely. Now watching them together, he couldn't imagine anyone better suited to help his daughter through this tumultuous time. He descended the wooden stairs to the beach, observing them unnoticed for a moment. Sophia was helping Emma sculpt a tower, their heads bent together in concentration. That's the wrong approach, he called out, approaching them. You need to mix the sand with just enough water to make it stick. Sophia looked up, shielding her eyes from the sun. Oh, really? I suppose you have an engineering degree in sandcastle construction that I'm unaware of, Mr. Reed? The casual teasing took him by surprise. Most people treated him with careful deference, a consequence of wealth he'd grown to dislike. Alex, he corrected for the 100th time. And yes, I'll have you know I was the undefeated sandcastle champion. Of Coney Island 3 summers running, age 8 through 10, Emma giggled. Show us, Daddy. Alex removed his watch and rolled up his sleeves, kneeling beside them. Prepare to be amazed. An hour later, their elaborate castle complex featured moats, bridges, and towers decorated with shells. Alex couldn't remember the last time he'd lost track of time so completely, or laughed so freely. Daddy, I'm hungry, Emma announced, patting her sandy hands on her sundress. I'll start lunch, Sophia offered, standing to brush sand from her clothes. I can help, Alex said, surprising himself. He typically avoided kitchens altogether. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Can you cook, or are your culinary skills limited to sandcastle construction? I'll have you know I make excellent reservations, he retorted, enjoying their easy banter. Back at the house, Alex watched Sophia navigate his kitchen with surprising confidence, considering she'd only been working for him a few weeks. Unlike Victoria, who treated cooking as beneath her, Sophia hummed as she prepared a simple meal of grilled sandwiches and fruit. How did you end up as a nanny? Alex asked, awkwardly attempting to slice tomatoes as instructed. You mentioned you were studying literature. Sophia nodded. Finishing my PhD in comparative literature. Nannying pays better than teaching assistantships, and the hours are more flexible. She paused, giving him a curious look. Most employers don't ask about my life. The observation stung more than it should have. Had he become the type of privileged person he'd always despised? Before his company's success, he'd worked retail jobs where customers barely acknowledged his existence. I'm sorry, he said sincerely. That's shameful. Don't apologize, she said, expertly flipping a sandwich. You're actually one of the good ones. Emma talks about you constantly. It's clear you're a devoted father. The simple compliment warmed him more than any business accolade ever had. After lunch, while Emma napped, Alex found himself sharing his divorce situation with Sophia as they cleaned the kitchen, something he hadn't intended to do. Victoria is demanding the Hamptons' house, even though it's been in my family for generations, he admitted, drying a plate. My lawyer thinks I should give it to her to secure primary custody of Emma. Sophia was quiet for a moment. What does your heart tell you? The question caught him off guard. In business, decisions were about strategy and logic, never emotion. My heart hasn't exactly been trustworthy lately, he said ruefully. It didn't notice my wife was sleeping with my best friend. Sophia handed him another wet plate. Maybe that's because your heart was always with Emma, where it should have been. That night, after Sophia had gone to her room in the guest wing and Emma was asleep, Alex sat on his balcony with a rare glass of whiskey, contemplating Sophia's words. His marriage had been failing long before Victoria's affair. They'd both been playing roles rather than being partners. His phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. We need to talk. I'm coming to the Hamptons tomorrow. Alex stared at the message, surprised to feel nothing but a dull annoyance at the coming confrontation. The woman who had once been the center of his world now felt like a business problem to be solved. His gaze drifted to the guest wing, where a single light still burned in Sophia's window. He could faintly make out her silhouette as she read. By the window, that ever-present book in her hands. For the first time since the discovery, Alex felt a stirring of something beyond anger and betrayal, something like possibility. The realization both terrified and exhilarated him. Tomorrow, Victoria would arrive with her demands and dramatics. Tomorrow he would need to be the hard-nosed businessman everyone expected. But tonight, watching a literature student read by lamplight, Alex allowed himself to wonder if there might be a different kind of life waiting on the other side of heartbreak. Victoria Reed arrived at the Hamptons' house precisely at noon, exactly as she had texted she would. Alex watched her silver Bentley roll up the driveway from his home office window, bracing himself for the confrontation ahead. You've got this, Sophia said from the doorway, making him jump slightly. Emma and I will be at the community fair until 4. Plenty of time for whatever this is. Alex appreciated her discretion. In the month she'd been Emma's nanny, Sophia had become something of a confidant as well, never overstepping but always offering quiet support. Thank you, he said, straightening his casual sweater. He'd deliberately chosen not to dress formally for Victoria. No more power plays or performances. Sophia hesitated, then added, Remember, you don't owe anyone your peace. The simple phrase delivered without drama hit him with unexpected force. Before he could respond, she disappeared down the hallway, calling for Emma. Victoria entered without knocking, her familiar perfume announcing her presence before she appeared in his office doorway. Despite everything, Alex had to admit she looked flawless in her designer outfit, not a platinum blonde hair out of place. Alex, she said, her voice taking on the soft, vulnerable tone he now recognized as calculated. Thank you for seeing me. What do you want, Victoria? He asked, remaining behind his desk. Her expression hardened momentarily before she recalibrated. I've been thinking about our family, about Emma. We're making a mistake. We made a mistake, he corrected, when we got married knowing we wanted different things. Victoria moved, further into the room, perching on the edge of a chair. People change. I've changed. This separation has made me realize that Charles isn't as wealthy as me, Alex interrupted, surprising himself with his directness. Victoria flushed. That's unfair. What happened with Charles was a terrible mistake, but it wasn't the first, Alex said quietly. Victoria's silence confirmed what he'd suspected, but hadn't wanted to know during their marriage. The lawyers can handle the rest, he continued, feeling strangely calm. I'll be generous financially, but I want primary custody of Emma. Victoria's mask slipped completely. You can't be serious. You'll be too busy running your empire to raise a child properly. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations, Alex revealed. The company can run without me micromanaging everything. Emma needs stability right now. And I suppose your little nanny is part of that stability? Victoria snapped, rising to her feet. Don't think I haven't heard about your cozy little domestic arrangement here. Alex stared at her, genuinely confused. What are you talking about? Please. Emma talks about nothing but Daddy and Miss Sophia during our video calls. The household help is talking. She narrowed her eyes. Is she the reason you won't consider reconciliation? The accusation was so absurd that Alex almost laughed. Victoria, Sophia works for me. She's been incredible with Emma during a difficult time, which is more than I can say for you, who's been to see your daughter exactly twice in the past month. Victoria's expression turned calculating. A judge might be interested to hear about your inappropriately close relationship with the nanny while our marriage was still legally intact. The threat hung in the air between them. Alex felt a surge of anger, not for himself, but for Sophia, whose reputation Victoria would casually destroy to get what she wanted. Get out, he said quietly. Alex, now, before I say something, I'll regret. The lawyers will be in touch. After Victoria left, Alex stood at the window for a long time, watching the ocean. Her accusations about Sophia troubled him, not because they held any truth. Nothing inappropriate had happened, but because they made him examine his own feelings. When had his admiration for Sophia's intelligence, kindness, and connection with Emma evolved into something more? When had her smile become something he looked forward to each morning? When had their late-night conversations over tea after Emma went to bed become the highlight of his day? The realization hit him with startling clarity. He was falling for Sophia Parker. The timing couldn't be worse. He was her employer, in the middle of a messy divorce, with a daughter who adored her as a nanny. The power dynamics alone made any potential relationship ethically complicated. Later that afternoon, the sound of Emma's excited chatter announced their return from the fair. Alex greeted them in the kitchen, where Emma proudly displayed a small stuffed unicorn. Look what Miss Sophia helped me win at the ring toss. That's amazing, Pumpkin, Alex said, genuinely impressed. I was never good at that game. Miss Sophia has magic hands, Emma declared. She hit every single ring. Sophia blushed. Lucky throws, that's all. She tilted, her head studying Alex. Everything okay? We need to talk, he said quietly. After Emma's bedtime. Worry flickered across her face, but she nodded. That evening, after tucking Emma in, Alex found Sophia on the veranda, wrapped in a cardigan against the cool autumn air. She looked up expectantly as he approached, moonlight highlighting the concern in her eyes. Is this when you fire me? She asked bluntly, surprising him. What? No, Alex said, taking the seat beside her. Why would you think that? Sophia sighed. Your ex-wife made it pretty clear when she cornered me at the fair today that she doesn't approve of my presence in Emma's life. Victoria went to the fair? Alex asked, anger building again. She said she wanted to see Emma, but mostly she wanted to warn me to know my place. Sophia's expression was resigned. It's okay, Alex, I understand. This is getting complicated, and Emma needs stability, not drama. You're the stability, Alex said firmly. Emma adores you. He stopped himself, unsure how to proceed. Sophia looked at him then, really looked at him, with those perceptive eyes that seemed to see right through his carefully constructed defenses. Alex, she said softly, I care about Emma too much to let whatever this is between us complicate her life right now. Her acknowledgement of the unspoken attraction between them hung in the night air. Neither advancing nor retreating, just acknowledging. I know, he finally said. But I don't want to lose you either. Not as Emma's nanny and not as... He searched for the right word. Not as my friend. Sophia's smile was sad and sweet. At once. Then we won't let Victoria chase me away, but we both need to be clear about boundaries, for Emma's sake. As they sat in companionable silence, watching the waves in the moonlight, Alex realized that for the first time since the discovery, he was thinking about the future with something like hope. A future that somehow, despite all complications, included the remarkable woman beside him. 3 months after Victoria's visit to the Hamptons, life had settled into a new rhythm. The divorce proceedings dragged on, but Alex had won the most important battle, primary custody of Emma, with Victoria receiving generous visitation rights she rarely used. The Christmas holidays approached, and Emma buzzed with excitement as she helped Sophia decorate the penthouse apartment Alex had purchased in a quieter, more family-oriented area of Manhattan, far from the towering glass monument where his marriage had shattered. "Higher, Daddy," Emma directed as Alex positioned the star atop their tree. "Any higher and I'll need a ladder," Alex laughed, stepping back to admire their work. Sophia emerged from the kitchen with hot chocolate, her cheeks flushed from the heat. "It looks perfect," she declared, handing mugs to both of them. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, sending a familiar warmth through Alex's chest. For months, they'd maintained the careful boundaries they'd established that night on the veranda. Sophia remained Emma's nanny, and Alex remained her employer. But their friendship had deepened through late-night conversations, shared laughter, and the quiet understanding that developed between two people navigating complicated circumstances together. Alex's phone interrupted the moment, displaying his lawyer's number. "I need to take this," he said apologetically, retreating to his office. 10 minutes later, he returned to find Sophia reading Emma a Christmas story, the little girl nestled against her side, eyelids drooping despite her determination to stay awake. "Everything okay?" Sophia asked softly, noting his expression. "Better than okay," Alex replied, a strange mix of emotions coursing through him. "The divorce is final. Victoria dropped her remaining demands in exchange for a financial settlement." "That's good," Sophia ventured, gently disentangling herself from the now sleeping Emma. "Very good," Alex confirmed, lifting his daughter to carry her to bed. "But there's more. Come to my office after I put her down?" After tucking Emma in, Alex found Sophia waiting in his office, perched uncertainly on the edge of a chair. The past months had changed her. Gone was the graduate student in worn jeans, replaced by a more confident woman who'd finally completed her PhD while managing Emma's care. Yet the essence of her remained the same, warm, genuine, and refreshingly direct. "Victoria wasn't just after money," Alex explained, closing the door softly. "Apparently she's pregnant, with Charles's child." Sophia's eyes widened. "Wow, that's unexpected." "They're moving to Paris," Alex continued. "She wants a fresh start, away from the scandal." "How do you feel about that?" Sophia asked, studying his face. Alex considered the question carefully. Relieved, mostly, for Emma. No more tug-of-war. He paused. "And for myself. I'm finally free to move forward." The weight of his words hung between them, loaded with unspoken implications. "Alex," Sophia began carefully, "with the divorce finalized, I think we should talk about my position here." A cold fear gripped him. "You're not leaving, are you?" "I should," she said quietly. "Emma's starting school after the holidays. She won't need a full-time nanny anymore, and I've been offered a teaching position at Columbia. It starts next semester." "That's wonderful," Alex said automatically, even as disappointment crashed through him. "You deserve it. Your dissertation was brilliant." He'd read the entire thing, staying up all night after she'd shyly shared the final draft with him. "Thank you," she said, a small smile playing at her lips. "But that's not the only reason. I should leave." "Tell me," he prompted, though he suspected he knew. Sophia took a deep breath. "Because I'm in love with you. And as long as I work for you, we shouldn't." She trailed off, vulnerability written across her face. The confession, so simply stated, broke something open in Alex's chest, a dam he'd been carefully maintaining for months. "I love you too," he said, the words emerging with surprising ease. "I have for months. But Emma loves you more." "Than anything," Sophia finished for him. "And she deserves parents who are honest with her and with themselves." A knock at the office door interrupted them. They turned to find Emma in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed unicorn. "I had a bad dream," she said, rubbing her eyes. Alex and Sophia exchanged a look before Alex lifted Emma into his arms. "Want to talk about it?" Emma nodded against his shoulder. "I dreamed Miss Sophia went away and never came back." The poignant timing wasn't lost on either adult. Sophia's expression softened as she approached them. "Emma," she said gently, "I have something important to tell you. I won't be your nanny anymore after Christmas." Emma's face crumpled, confirming Alex's worst fears about this transition. But before he could intervene, Sophia continued. "But that doesn't mean I'm leaving your life," she added quickly. "In fact, if it's okay with you and your dad, I was hoping we could spend even more time together, as a family." Emma looked between them, confusion clearing. "Like when we go to the park together, or make dinner together?" "Exactly like that," Sophia smiled. "But maybe even more often." Emma's eyes widened with sudden understanding. "Are you going to be my new mommy?" The innocent question hung in the air. Alex froze, uncertain how to navigate this delicate moment. Sophia knelt to Emma's level as Alex set her down. "No, sweetheart. You already have a mommy who loves you. But I was hoping that maybe, someday, I could be something else. Something just as special, but different." "Like what?" Emma asked curiously. "Like a Sophia," she replied simply. "Someone who loves you and your daddy very much, just for being who you are." Emma considered this for a moment, then nodded solemnly. "I'd like that." Later that night, after Emma had finally fallen asleep again, Alex and Sophia stood on the balcony of the apartment, the city lights twinkling around them like earthbound stars. "That was unexpected," Alex said, thinking of Emma's question. "I hope it wasn't too much." Sophia laughed softly. "Nothing about this has been expected, Alex. A year ago, I was a struggling PhD student planning to spend my life buried in books. Now I'm here with you and Emma, and somehow it feels more right than anything I've ever known." Alex took her hand, interlacing their fingers. "I want to do this right. No rushing. Emma needs stability, and you deserve more than being someone's rebound." "I know," Sophia said, squeezing his hand. "But I also know that sometimes life gives you a second chance when you least expect it. Sometimes a broken heart is just the beginning of a better story." As the first snowflakes of winter began to fall around them, Alex pulled Sophia close, their foreheads touching. "I used to think I had it all," he murmured. "The business, the penthouse, the perfect wife. I never realized I was living someone else's idea of success." "And now?" Sophia asked, her eyes reflecting the city lights. "Now I know better," Alex replied, brushing a snowflake from her cheek. "Success isn't what you have. It's who you have beside you when everything falls apart, and who's still there when you put it back together again." As their lips finally met in a kiss that had been months in the making, Alex felt a sense of rightness settle over him. Not the sharp, consuming passion he'd once mistaken for love with Victoria, but something deeper and more enduring. A connection built on friendship, understanding, and genuine care. In the bedroom down the hall, Emma slept peacefully, her nightmares forgotten. And on the balcony, surrounded by gently falling snow, two people who had found each other in the aftermath of betrayal discovered that sometimes, when one door closes, another opens to something far more beautiful than you ever imagined possible.